and then hit us with booby traps. Chi-Ha tank.
Amtrak driver got us about 3 or 4 yards up on that roof, and the commander of that was a lieutenant. Where he came from, I don't know, but he panicked, and he started screaming, "Get out of here, get out!" They dropped the ramp. We got out. I was ready to get out of that death trap anyway. We got out, and I took about 4 or 5 steps, and I fell into a hole almost up to my neck. And I believe I would have drowned if old George Turner, and this boy was the skinniest man in the outfit. He pulled me up. Everything was wet. My pistol, my flamethrower, everything. Well, now this wasn't a beast. This was an 8 to 10 foot bus that we landed against. And we were getting these 150 millimeter mortars were coming over behind us. And I slapped this guy on the butt in front of me, and I said, "Move out!" He calmly turned around and looked at me and said, "You son of a bitch, if you want to move out, get up here." I got up there, and I found out why he didn't move out. We were getting machine gun fire on our left. But we did make it over, and we didn't get over 100 yards, 150 yards maybe. But we were in sort of an open area. There weren't any pillboxes, but we were getting shells pretty heavy there. And we tried to dig in, and there was no way you could dig a foxhole in this darn car. We were digging around trying to get ourselves protected, and about 4 o'clock that afternoon, somebody hollered, "Tanks!" And I looked around and said, "How in the hell did all our tanks get back over there?" And I realized that was Japanese tanks. And I mean, they were barreling down on us. You will not believe all hell broke loose. I mean, we were firing everything we had, bazookas, machine guns, M1, pistols, throwing gravel, you name it. We finally, and I think we had a couple of tanks. We had 2 or 3 tanks that had gotten ashore, and they did their work on it, believe me.
Jeez.
What I do know is this, that our morale before the fellow was campaign was at its highest. We used to call it gung-ho, and that's just what it was. We were almost in competition to see who would be the first in. Fortunately, or unfortunately, as you look at it, E Company 2nd Battalion was in the first wave. We were lucky to be in the first wave in the sense that the mortars and so forth that the Japs had didn't get loosed up until the first 2 waves got in, and the big damage was done in the following wave. We got across the airport, and with difficulty, of course. On the second day, we reached the other side of the airport on the left flank. We surrounded a concrete bunker there. Roy Jensen, he was with me on that in the 2nd Platoon. It was very thick concrete, measured something like 20 by 15 or thereabouts. And we were really hard put to make an impression on it. We called up a tank. We thought that might do it. But at that moment, we heard the scream of a dive bomber. Now, how we heard it above all else going on, I don't know. But here we are, a company of men surrounded this bunker, and here comes this dive bomber. Maybe at an altitude of about 300 feet. He let that bomb go, and it hit that bunker dead center. Didn't hurt a single man in our company, can you imagine? But we were covered with cement stuff. Very grateful. Might have been the most perfect dive bomb of the war.
You hear what that first one was talking about? They said that the Japanese launched a surprise tank attack. And he goes, all these guys on the beach, he goes, they were just sitting in a hole in the sand. And he said, oh, we heard tanks. And he said, how the hell we get all those tanks up there? And he realized, oh shit, they're Japanese tanks. And he said, he goes, all hell broke loose. He goes, we were firing flamethrowers and bazookas and pistols and rifles and throwing gravel, you name it. He said, everything that could be launched at those things we did. Bloody Nose Ridge. More Brogle Mountain. Yeah, we weren't ready for that. No, we weren't. If you ever wonder where that picture, the 2,000-yard stare, comes from, or that saying, it's from that.
Summer 1944, the Palau Islands were occupied by approximately 50,000 Japanese troops, nearly 14,000 of them on Peleliu, 13 square miles of sand coral caves. As Allied forces push westward towards the Philippines, General Douglas MacArthur has concerns about Japanese strength on Peleliu. In a conference between President Roosevelt, Admiral Chester Nimitz, and General MacArthur, Nimitz agrees to support MacArthur's planned invasion of the Philippines. First, MacArthur wants the Navy and Marines to take Peleliu and neighboring islands in the Palau Island chain. MacArthur reasons that planes from the Japanese airfield on Peleliu could threaten the right flank of the Army in the planned invasion of the Philippines. Nimitz is not convinced, nor is Admiral Bull Halsey. In early September, Halsey reports that late intelligence shows Japanese air strength on Peleliu to be negligible. But with the Pacific Fleet already en route, Nimitz decides to go ahead with landings in the Palaus. 12 September 1944. The Navy begins a pre-invasion bombardment
About 2 o'clock.
After 2 days, they proclaim the bombardment a success. Everything's done over there.
Grab some chow in
One
town.
confident Navy officer to the Marines, being water. But on 15
Back to the same restaurant.
D-Day at Peleliu, enemy guns with the bombardment.
You go staggering out of there.
Pound break the landing force.
No, we can get some
Some Marines run it,
All right.
some stagger, others move.
Yep. I recognize it by its bent wings, right? Yeah, MacArthur said he'd come back.
Southern Force and Admiral King's December Force aimed to catch the Allies in the pincer attack at Lake.
Taffy 3.
The plan falls apart on the morning of 24 October when airstrikes by 3rd Fleet carriers caused
And the Japanese super battleship Musashi.
Halsey thinks that Korea is in full retreat and opts to chase after Ozawa's carriers.
I had a
37 bombs and torpedoes.
Center Force again reverses direction.
Did you get it?
Heads towards the now unguarded San Bernardino Strait. 2:50 a.m., 25 October. Mission Euro ships enter Surigao Strait to find Admiral Jesse Oldendorf's task force waiting for them. In a hellish night battle, the Americans exact a heavy toll on the Japanese southern force. At 4:19 a.m., battleship Yamashiro capsizes and sinks.
Oh, yeah.
Mission Euro goes down with his ship. Daylight that same morning, Korea's center force steams unopposed off Samar, just north of Lake
shit.
Island, when lookouts spot Admiral Sprague's
TF-34 guarding San Bernardino?
supporting the landings of
Negative. There were carrier groups now engaging enemy carrier force.
Sprague suddenly realizes his smaller ships are in trouble. He quickly orders Taffy 3 to steer for a rain squall.
These guys were
Sprague orders
crazy.
his escort carriers to launch their planes for an all-out attack. The carriers' outgunned defenders dash towards the Japanese heavy ships, firing torpedoes and guns. Still thinking it's Halsey's Third Fleet, the Japanese line begins to crumble. Kurita turns northward. In the aftermath of the desperate action, destroyers Hole, Johnson, and Samuel B. Roberts, along with escort carrier Gambier Bay, sink with heavy loss of life. Yet their sacrifice has not been in vain. Sprague's Taffy 3 has saved the day in the Battle of Samar. 25 October. At Cape Engano, Halsey has caught up with Ozawa's decoy northern force and is pounding it with airstrikes when he receives word of Sprague's desperate situation at Samar. Halsey orders battleships and cruisers of the Third Fleet to reverse course and head south to Samar, while he continues his airstrikes on Ozawa. Yet when these ships arrive off Samar, Kurita's Central Force has already retreated back through the San Bernardino Strait. By day's end, all four carriers in Osawa's northern force at Cape Engano had been sunk, including Zukaku, the last surviving carrier from the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Halsey's defeat of Admiral Ozawa at Cape Engano puts the final mark on the Allied victory at Lake Tahoe.
Those guys in Taffy 3 were totally fucking crazy. You know what's really bad about that is one of those it said one of those destroyers, jeez, got enough guns on your house? And I said, well, a couple of those destroyers all lined up, turned all their torpedo tubes at the Japanese fleet. It just dumped every torpedo that they had, and some of the torpedoes missed the first Japanese ships, but then hit the ones in the middle of the formation. They didn't know where the hell it was all coming from. They didn't realize it was all coming from those little destroyers. They were just like, "Who the hell's attacking us?" Well, actually, they did try to return fire, and a couple of the Japanese ships hit their own guys, kind of adding to the confusion, because then they were all getting hit from the opposite side, and they were freaking out what the hell is going on. And all of a sudden, our planes came in. They thought they were attacking like I said, they thought they were attacking a fleet 2 or 3 times that size. Crazy.
In 1944, the light
It was, Zuikaku was the last surviving carrier of the Pearl Harbor attack.
World War II. It is October 25th, and several Japanese
Cruiser bridge.
directly into a trap set by the U.S. 87 Fleet at the Battle of Surigao Strait. It is just
Cape Engano, Tokyo Rose. Someone talked. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the face. Yeah, well. Let's see here, United. They're watching us plenty. Oh, God. Buy bonds at your nearest Scorers Theater. What do you mean you ain't gonna buy no bonds? Clark Gable. And the submarines. You didn't hear a bunch. Stuff you don't hear much about or see much about. The Mark 14 torpedo. The only reliable feature of the torpedo is its unreliability. Jeez. Well, that's got to be a bitch. This guy fired 15 of his 16 torpedoes. 11 hit the target and failed to detonate. 2 exploded with damage to the vessel, saving the last of his fish for examination. So they took it all apart and they, oh man, it's not put together right. Oops. Submariner. Hey, all right. That guy has got the.
Those are probably.
Well, he's got you got the right idea, man. Says why more than one periscope? Oh, what is that set up somewhere?
Yeah, if you go this way. It's the Yamato. Yamato.
Uh-huh. Good fool was a morale booster, except when those were
Don't make the cut, man.
and 40mm gun training.
Just sleeping with this.
You can be like curled up in like a.
5-inch deck gun training. This is Nip Destroyer. Yeah, guys, just sleeping on top of the torpedoes.
Yep, you don't have much room. No.